Sherleaf by J Pilgrim. In Sherleaf, J Pilgrim weaves a haunting tale of redemption, courage, and the supernatural. Kate's world is falling apart. Her marriage, her faith, everything. She walks into a conference in Auckland and discovers something that changes everything. A glimmer of hope in the darkness. Let me read you what happens next. Chapter 3. An Unwelcome Departure. Kate sat stiffly at her desk, her fingers hovering over the keyboard, her mind tangled in a web of exhaustion and stress. The Johnsonville office was the same as ever. Too bright, too cold, and filled with a dull drone of phones ringing and keys clacking. She had been battling a headache all morning, a dull throb at the back of her skull that no amount of coffee could cure. Jill, her senior boss, approached with a clipboard in hand, her heels clicking sharply against the linoleum floor. The sight of her made Kate tense. "Kate, I need a moment," Jill said, her tone clipped and businesslike. Kate pushed back from her desk slightly and looked up. "Of course." Jill adjusted her glasses and glanced down at her notes. "The Auckland branch is hosting a 3-day conference next week. It's a company-wide training initiative, and we need a representative from our office. You'll be flying up next Monday morning. Flights and accommodation are covered, of course." Kate felt her stomach drop. 3 days away. 3 days leaving Mary alone with Bob. The thought turned her blood cold. She hesitated. "Jill, I appreciate the opportunity, but it's short notice. I have a daughter." Jill's eyes flickered with impatience. "I understand, but this isn't optional. You'll be there at the airport on Monday morning. Make the necessary arrangements." Kate forced a nod. "Understood." Jill gave a curt nod before striding away, leaving Kate sitting motionless at her desk, her pulse quickening. How was she going to tell Bob? Would he lash out? Would he refuse to take care of Mary? Or worse, would he agree and leave Mary to fend for herself? The possibilities churned inside her mind, each one darker than the last. She exhaled shakily. She had no choice but to go home and tell him. Breaking the news. The air in the council flat was thick with the smell of cheap beer and stale cigarette smoke when Kate stepped through the door that evening. The television blared from the small living room, the sound of sports commentators echoing through the cramped space. Bob was slouched on the couch, half-empty beer bottle in hand, his bloodshot eyes flickering toward her as she entered. "You're late," he muttered, taking a swig. Kate swallowed hard, ignoring the knot forming in her throat. "Bob, I need to talk to you," he grunted, eyes fixed on the screen. "What now?" She inhaled deeply, bracing herself. "Work is sending me to Auckland next Monday. Just for 3 days. Bob's eyes snapped to hers, his brow furrowing. "What?" "A company conference." "I have no choice," she said carefully, keeping her tone measured. "I'll leave Monday morning and be back Wednesday night." A dangerous silence settled between them, thick and suffocating. Bob's grip on his beer bottle tightened. "And what am I supposed to do with the kid?" Kate's hands clenched into fists at her sides. "Look after her." "She's your daughter, Bob." Bob let out a bitter laugh, shaking his head. "Oh, so now she's my daughter when it suits you? You expect me to just drop everything and play babysitter while you run off to some cushy hotel in Auckland?" Kate's heart pounded. "It's work, Bob. It's not a holiday, and it's for 3 days." "That's it." Bob slammed his beer down on the coffee table, making Mary flinch from the kitchen doorway where she had been listening. "You're just looking for an excuse to get away from me, aren't you? Think you're better than me now?" Kate forced herself to stay calm, though her insides were twisting. "That's not true, but I have to go." "Please, Bob, just this once, look after her." Bob sneered. "And if I say no? What then, huh? You gonna quit your job? Beg someone else to take her in?" Mary, still standing by the kitchen, hugged her sketchbook tightly, her eyes darting between her parents. She looked terrified. Kate's voice wavered. "If you say no, I'll find another way." Bob stared at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he scoffed, reaching for another beer. "Fine, whatever. Do what you want. But don't expect me to be a babysitter." "She can take care of herself." Kate's stomach sank. She knew that was the best she was going to get. Mary turned and slipped quietly into her bedroom, closing the door behind her. Kate exhaled shakily, her hands trembling as she turned away from Bob, who was already back to watching TV as if their conversation had never happened. She knew those 3 days away were going to be the longest of her life. The flight to Auckland. Kate sat stiffly in her seat as the plane taxied down the Wellington runway, her hands gripping the armrests tightly. The hum of the engines vibrated through her bones, but it wasn't the flight that had her on edge. It was the gnawing anxiety clawing at her insides. Mary was alone with Bob. She stared out the small window, watching as the city shrank beneath the heavy clouds. Had she made a mistake? Leaving Mary with him? What if he didn't feed her? Had Mary eaten breakfast? Had Bob got her off to school? There was no one to turn to, no friends, no family close enough to intervene. The seatbelt sign blinked off, and the flight attendant's voice crackled over the intercom. Kate barely heard it. Her mind raced through worst-case scenarios. She closed her eyes, pressing her fingers against her temples. Just 3 days. 3 days, and I'll be back. The flight felt unbearably long despite lasting only an hour. As soon as they touched down in Auckland, Kate forced herself to push her worries aside, at least temporarily. She had to get through the conference. This trip had to mean something. She collected her small suitcase from the baggage claim and hailed a taxi to the motel her company had booked for her stay. A call home. The motel room was clean but soulless, the kind of place meant for temporary stays. A plain bed with stiff sheets, a small desk, and a television set. Kate sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone, hesitating before dialing home. She took a deep breath and pressed the call button. The phone rang 6 times before Bob finally answered. "What?" he snapped, his voice slurred. Kate's stomach twisted. "Bob, I just wanted to check on Mary. Is she okay?" There was a pause, then a scoff. "She's fine." "Stop nagging. Did she eat breakfast? Did you drop her off to school? Jesus, Kate, she's not a baby. She can take care of herself." Kate closed her eyes, gripping the phone tightly. "Bob, she is 10. She needs someone to..." Bob cut in. "You think you're so important, don't you? Swanning off to Auckland while I'm stuck here babysitting." Kate bit her lip, swallowing back the tears that threatened to spill. "I just need to know she's safe. Yeah. She's alive, all right? Now let me watch my show." The line went dead. Kate let the phone fall onto the bed, her hands trembling. She wanted to scream, to cry, to do something, anything, to fix this mess. But there was nothing she could do. She was in Auckland, miles away, and Mary was alone with him. 3 days. She just had to survive 3 days. The conference. Kate sat stiffly in the large conference room, surrounded by employees from different branches of the company. The presentation droned on, a blur of statistics and corporate jargon, none of which she could fully absorb. Her mind kept drifting back to Mary. Was she okay? Was she safe? She sighed and forced herself to focus as the event coordinator introduced a new speaker. The man who stepped onto the stage was introduced as Steve Hartley, a senior manager from the Auckland branch. He was in his early 40s tall, with neatly combed salt and pepper hair and an easygoing demeanor that contrasted with the stiff, corporate atmosphere of the conference. After the session, Kate found herself at the refreshment table, pouring a cup of tea, when a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Long day, huh?" She turned to see Steve standing beside her, offering a polite smile. His clean-shaven face beamed warmth. "Yeah, definitely," she admitted with a small laugh. "Some of the stuff is, well, a bit dry," Steve chuckled. "That's corporate life for you." Sometimes I wonder how we managed to sit through these without falling asleep. Kate smiled for the first time that day. I know the feeling. Kate, right? From the Johnsonville office? He asked. That's me, she confirmed, shaking his hand. Steve Hartley. Good to meet you. I know a few folks from your branch, but we haven't crossed paths before. Well, now we have, Kate said lightly. A few of us are going out for dinner later. Nothing too formal. Just a casual team thing. You should join us. Kate hesitated. She wasn't sure if she wanted to socialize, but the thought of being alone in the motel again, dreading her next call to Bob, made her reconsider. That sounds nice, actually. Great, Steve said. I'll make sure you get the details. Dinner and common ground. The restaurant was warm and lively, a welcome contrast to the sterile gray conference room. Kate found herself seated opposite Steve, their conversation flowing more easily than she had expected. So you're from England too? Steve asked as he sipped his wine. Yes, London originally, Kate said. I moved to New Zealand with my husband and daughter. I grew up in Manchester, Steve said with a grin. But I've been here for about 10 years now. Love the outdoor lifestyle. Kate's eyes lit up for the first time that evening. Me too. I used to ride horses back in England. I miss it. Steve's eyebrows raised. No way. I have a small property outside the city. Got 2 horses, Steve said enthusiastically. It's a great way to clear your head after work. Kate smiled wistfully. That sounds amazing. I haven't ridden in years. Steve nodded before saying, You should come by some time. That is, if you're ever in Auckland for longer than a few days, Steve offered. Kate hesitated, but the warmth in Steve's voice made her feel safe. I'd love that. The night stretched on, and by the time they parted ways, Kate felt lighter than she had in a long time. A walk in the park. By Wednesday afternoon, the conference was wrapping up, and Steve found Kate sitting outside the venue, staring at the city skyline. You've been quiet today, he noted as he approached. Kate sighed. Just a lot on my mind. Steve motioned toward the park. Want to talk about it? We could go for a stroll, she hesitated before nodding. A walk might be nice. They wandered through a nearby park, the air crisp with a late afternoon breeze. Steve waited patiently as they walked, sensing she needed time to gather her thoughts. Finally, Kate stopped by a bench and sat down. I haven't been completely honest with you, Steve. My home life. It's not great. Steve frowned, sitting beside her. What do you mean? Kate exhaled shakily. My husband, Bob, he's not a good man. He drinks. He gambles away our money. He's cruel, and sometimes he gets violent. Steve's expression darkened. Kate, that's not okay. Tears welled in her eyes. I know, but I don't have anywhere to go. I have a daughter, and I don't know how to get out. Steve reached over, gently placing a hand on hers. Listen to me. You do have options. You don't have to stay in that situation. Kate wiped her eyes, shaking her head. But how? I don't have family here. I don't have the money to start over. Steve hesitated for a moment before speaking. I have some influence in the company. There's an opening in Auckland. Better pay, better conditions. If you want, I can help you transfer here. Kate looked at him, stunned. Are you serious? Yes, and you don't have to worry about a place to stay, at least not immediately. I have a large house with more space than I need. You can stay there until you figure things out. Kate's breath caught in her throat. Steve, just think about it, Steve said gently. I'm not saying you have to decide right now, but you deserve better than this, Kate. Kate swallowed hard, her heart pounding. For the first time in years, there was a sliver of hope, a way out. I'll think about it, she whispered. Steve squeezed her hand. Good, and if you ever need help, you don't have to be afraid to ask. As they sat there in silence, Kate realized she had been holding her breath for years, suffocating in fear and hopelessness. But now, maybe, just maybe, She had a chance to breathe again. Before you watch the next chapter, remember to connect with J Pilgrim. Discover the magic. Embrace the wisdom. Live the adventure. Explore the world of J Pilgrim by checking out the links in the channel description. Also, remember that liking, subscribing, and sharing helps this channel reach more people who love fiction stories. Stay updated on J Pilgrim's releases by following him on this channel. Join a community of fiction lovers who are inspired, entertained, and transformed by the works of J Pilgrim. See you in the next episode, where Kate makes a dramatic move toward hope.